Let's prepare for a landing, Brad.
Okay.
In a 40G gravity atmosphere, strange thing happens to man's body and mind.
Cover her face with the mask of Satan.
Horror Italia. Planet of the Vampires. Mario Bava.
What's up, horror fiends, and welcome to another episode of Horror Italiano. I am Joe, the psychologist, and as always, for this series, I'm joined by my brother, my beer brother. What's up, Rick? How you doing?
What up, Joe, the psychologist? I'm doing great. First time watch. There's not many films I go on, to this channel with a first time watch. I've only seen it once, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Same with me. It was also my first time watch. The funny part is that movie, the title, misrepresented itself. Tonight, we're going to be discussing Planet of the Vampires, or Terrore nello Spazio. It is directed by Mario Bava. It stars Barry Sullivan as Captain Mark Marcari, Norma Bengal as Sonia, and Angel Aranda as Wes Cant. I just gotta say that, I had to make sure to put Wes in there because when I saw that his last name was Wes Cant and his first name is Wes, well, there's a whole lot that Wes could not do in this movie. Two ships answer the distress call from the planet of Aura, and they get to find out what exactly sent out this distress call. Let me know what your thoughts were on this Italian sci-fi horror.
To me, it was a very unique film because on a personal level, I don't really watch a lot of films like this. This reminds me of this older film called Planet of the Dinosaurs. In that film, dinosaurs were the villains, and here it's more like an unknown force, this race that pretty much disembodied. They're looking for a host so they can escape their planet because their planet is dying. Their sun is just evaporating essentially, and they've been trying to do this for a long time. We'll get into it, but there was another race that came before them, a race of like big giant creatures, bro. I don't really get to watch films like sci-fi horror, I'll be honest. Like this is definitely the 60s. The film to me has a very retro look to it and a retro feel. I love the use of miniatures, and the difference between this and even lower budget films compared to this project, they did the miniatures in a way where they felt organic and real. I don't know what it was. I mean, you could tell they're miniatures, but it's the way it was shot. The use of smoke and lighting, they felt like the ships had weight to them. They didn't feel floaty or plasticky. Even the inside of the ships, a little bare, there's a little barren, let's be honest, because it's not, it's probably filmed some locker or something. But keep in mind, it's 1965. This was pure sci-fi horror nostalgia, from the sound effects and this film. I know you are a big fan of this particular franchise, so I'm gonna leave it to you, but this film definitely inspired classics that would come a bit later on. But my first initial thoughts were I was enjoying it. I love the mystery of the film, and like you said, it's Planet of the Vampires, so I was expecting vampires. I was not expecting what I got, and to be quite honest with you, I kind of preferred what I got as opposed to just vampires in space. Let's be real, also their uniforms with the collars kind of reminded me of like Dracula's, his collar. So I don't know, maybe that was put in there on purpose. Which those uniforms, by the way, were pretty awesome, especially for 1965, man. I loved it. I don't know what it was. I just loved the mystery, and I was engrossed from beginning to end on this film. So that's my quick initial thoughts. But how about you, my friend?
I'm gonna be honest, because it was the first time watch. The first couple of minutes as I was watching it, I just kept trying to reprogram my brain to go back to 1965. Thankfully, we finally did a movie that was before I was born. So yeah, I think that's another distinction it might actually have. It felt a little campy. This is 1965, so this is a little scarier for them back in the day. And then once you got your head set to realize that and not do the is 2024 comparison, the movie did get enjoyable.
This was a complete throwback for me when I was younger, going on like, let's say like Nick at Night, when they put those old 60s serials, and this felt like that. I love the look and feel of everything because it felt real, no CGI. And now I mentioned earlier with the miniatures how they had weight to them, but there was instances where you can tell they were miniatures, obviously.
Yeah,
so there was no weight attached to them, especially when like they landed, for example, and they only had one ship apparently. Because after I watched it, I like to research what I just experienced, and they only used one miniature and one design for the ship. So the Argo ship and the Gallia ship, they were the same miniature. I'm pretty convinced about that because they're really. Even the uniforms were the same, minus the other guys had the red emblems as opposed to the yellow ones for our heroes. What an experience, though, because this movie was a PG movie as well. Yeah. I never thought we were going to do a PG film for Horror Italiano, but here we are.
It's funny because when you mentioned the landing and the way that it looked, I know the two movies that pretty much after you watch it, you can see. When I was watching the movie, like right off the bat, I caught it. It gave alien feels. When they went out to go investigate and you got the shot of the ship and you can see the two characters, two movies. The other one is Prometheus, but also with Alien, which is the giant one, the giant alien that is revealed later on when they're trying to look around.
Yeah, that was the prior race that I think they took the same distress call, right?
And showed up.
The life forms that exist within this universe, it's scary. And the fact that it told a story. I really enjoyed the fact that they introduced those skeletal remains as part of the narrative. That was cool.
Here's my thing. If I would have seen that, I would have said, all right, guys, you gotta pack this shit up. One of the things that you had mentioned was the use of colors, like the fog itself would have different colors. So you knew that each one kind of represented a little bit something different. Learning what we kind of learned with how color works in the Italian genre. Kind of wondered, did Mario, do a little sugar cube or something to get the trippiness effects that we got in the movie? That's where I started getting some of the campiness.
Very campy. Yes.
Is the coloring? It gave it that like you said, the retro stuff you used to watch back in the day. Some of it was good, some of it was campy.
Flash Gordon.
I fucking love Flash Gordon.
I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum on this one. I love the look of this film, bro. Once the film started, I was hooked in. There was this one awesome continuous shot from the inside of the spaceship, panels in the foreground, and then it ends with the people piloting the ship itself. I'm like, holy shit, the cinematography is gonna be bonkers in this fucking film. Some of the framing shots in this film were unbelievable, especially the zoom ins and zoom outs, and the way they do the leading lines in this film. We have our two central characters. I believe it was Mark and the female character. Her name escapes me. Sonya. They're real small. In the foreground, you see these two pillars framing it perfectly in shot. And then you see the leading lines of the road leading to them and behind them. And the colors. And just the way they look so small in stature compared to the grand world around them. Oh man, what a framing that was. It was unbelievable. And for 1965, but what they did was they took their camera and they put it to use as far as showing you the world in a way where the budget limitations don't fucking matter, bro. I mean, they did kind of go OD on the fog machine, though. I mean, come on.
Oh my god.
There was some scenes with the rock, you could tell it. More fog, more fog.
That's the thing. How did they not choke? It was like so much of sometimes.
Slow-mo rarely works for me in film, with the exception of, like, Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects, the final scene, Leonard Skinner, Freebird, our three anti-heroes, their last stand against law enforcement. That was great. But here, when they got that slow-mo, but it's kind of choppy. Oh, I hate that. I don't know why filmmakers always get off on using that. I don't understand. It's so bad and it takes you out. So on a technical level, didn't like that. I think this film looks great. The set pieces are dope. It feels alive. The abundance of smoke is a little bit on the heavy-handed side, but the colors pop in this fucking film, bro. I love the colors.
If you haven't seen the movie and you go to watch the movie, you might somewhat feel, like I said, when you start watching it, it's so retro.
Oh, very retro. The beeps and all the squeaks and sounds of the panels and all the machinery. Everything on the ship is beeping and bleeping. And
Yeah. Literally a lot of space in there. Not a lot of technology to fly these ships back
and
then.
if you're
but
claustrophobic, you good.
like with all horror movies, crew members, one by one start dying.
One thing I really enjoyed about this film was, like I mentioned before, I'm glad they weren't just generic vampires. The fact that you couldn't see this threat, it was like this unknown force. And I always say the fear of the unknown to me is always scarier than something physical. Something you can't see, you can't smell, you don't know where it's coming from. And the fact that these motherfuckers can like take over your body if you're unconscious or you're asleep, that's pretty cool, man. I like that. I dig it.
It wasn't vampires in the "I'm going to suck your blood" type. They were parasites.
These geniuses let these crew members that they already buried these motherfuckers, to be honest. They came back, oh, we're good. And they let them back onto the ship.
The doctor checked your vital signs. You were dead. Oh, no, we're good. Because, you know, with especially with Italian movies, there's a mystery. And then you ultimately, in the end, is this big reveal. But as it turns out, our heroes, Mark and Sonia, have the vampires in them. It's just now 3 of them. I started questioning it a little bit, especially as, you know, they're getting ready to go run back to the ship, and the rest of the crew members all of a sudden just being shot one by one. Like, well,
Yeah, they got blasted. They got a doc. The doc got killed.
yeah, like everybody, or they lined up their friends and then come back and just shoot them all and take off with Wes. It's funny because it did make me think of Flash Gordon.
The sound effects are so retro. They remind me of like those old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, or like Thundar. You know what I'm saying? Lord,
Yeah.
like
Oh, I
you know
love
all that
Thundar.
shit. Yeah. Oh my god.
Thundar, the Barbarian.
The big reveal at the end is that Mark and Sonia, Wes figured it out. Now they basically agreed to allow this race to be inside them. When they shot to New York and they were like, oh, they're still making their buildings out of concrete and
Oh
steel.
yeah, that was hilarious. But
Yeah, and I'm sitting there like, dude, that's pretty big. I'm like, oh no, I guess for an alien race, not so much.
their civilizations are so much more advanced, right? New York, for example, seemed very caveman-like. But the
Yeah.
funny thing is, if you see that planet Aura, what the? There's nothing
Exactly.
there.
I didn't see no buildings.
There's
I mean, how
nothing
can you
there. So what the?
judging us? Did you get blindsided by the reveal, or did you figure it out?
No, I knew. I fucking knew.
You knew?
I
Damn
knew.
it.
I knew because there's no
Well,
way the movie was gonna
Second
end
watch.
with them getting away. By the way, Mark was fucking awesome. I loved his character so much. I don't know what it was. Could be the actor. It could be the writing. I don't know what it was, but he was such a good leading man in this film to me. I loved it. His behavior was so different and more subdued and calm all of a sudden. Him and Sonya just went, put all these detonators and you know, and on that ship. They almost died. 2 of their crew members got shot dead in front of them. They came in, they're so calm and okay, we're good. Nah, they got possessed. Those are the vampires. They're gonna come now. They're gonna take the ship because it's repaired. West is finished, and they're going back. I knew. I was like, okay, I know where this is. I know where this is going. Don't tell me you didn't know.
So,
Oh no, Joe. Let's hear it.
I'm not gonna lie. That's why I said I have to watch it to find out exactly when it happens.
When they were trying to coerce Wes into letting them take over his body, they always say you have to be willing, right? So how did they take over Mark and Sonya? They're not gonna be willing.
That's what I mean. We missed something.
Did they get knocked
had-
out and they got taken over?
Why are they not upset? that all their friends just got killed. I thought it was funny how how they were insulting us because, you know, when they were saying they were gonna go to Earth, and I'm like, oh my god, they must have showed up here like during caveman times. And then they panned it to fucking Manhattan, and I'm like, damn. They literally called 1965 Manhattan prehistoric, you know, which it wasn't. But I thought, you know, as they were talking about it, so truthfully, where I thought it would have been kind of cool was as they're showing the planet, was that they weren't going to actually show caveman and show that the vampires landed here during the caveman times. And that's why vampires, maybe they become bloodsuckers at some point in time. Kind of how I had thought it was gonna go until we fucking see Manhattan, and then they're like going, oh god.
It's the Americans. The Americans named this movie Planet of the Vampires. So vampires, people love vampires.
Well,
Put
because
that in the title.
Yeah, because the title in Italian is Terrore nello spazio, which is terror in space. There's nothing vampire in the title.
But the title.
Yeah.
Let's be real. If the humans were in that same predicament, and they had mentioned it, but the humans we're kind of fucked up. We're despicable. We're kind of selfish. I think if the human race was on the verge of extinction, the human race would not waste 2 seconds even thinking about it. They would do the exact same shit. And let's be real, they fucking would, bro. So this movie, what I love about it, are they really villains? They're just desperate. You know what I mean?
No, it's a civilization. I want to kind of like the little lights part where the spaceship was flying. 2 lights had flown
I saw
in front
that.
of the ship.
I saw that. Yeah.
So while the ship is flying, 2 more individuals who need a host body for them to get to, you know, they're probably like, hurry up, we need a body.
But come on, Joe. We always say this: the bad guys win. The bad
guys won in this one.
They won.
You know, another one.
I love the retro feel. I love the acting. Mark, I don't know what it was. He was such a great character to me, especially when he recorded himself saying, "Listen, we're fucked.
Yeah.
We're not getting out of this." I don't want to
not
show
supposed
that.
to be scared, but I just gotta say,
I'm
bitch,
fucking scared. I'm scared.
I'm scared right now.
This was a great choice, man. I'm glad I saw this movie. I want to see it again. I can't believe I've never seen this, to be honest with you, man. So, yeah, man. Planet of the Vampires. Mario Bava, baby. Let's go. So, Lamberto Bava, this was the first film he worked with his dad with. And, of course, Lamberto Bava would go on to do Demons, which we had already did on this channel. So check it out.
So it was the 1965 audience seeing a movie that the good guys didn't win. You know, the 2 heroes that you were rooting for basically let themselves be taken by these vampires, and the vampires won, making Earth their next target. We're gonna be fucked. So I can see now, especially after us discussing it, where this movie could have been pretty scary. Because at first, like I said, I wanted to let you know where I was coming in when I made those little parallels, especially the Star Trek part. There was some campiness to it.
Justified, by the way. Justified. This film, especially from the era that it was originally produced, the ending especially has such a Twilight Zone feel to it, man.
I was fucking just going to say that.
Are you
I'm not
serious?
even gonna fucking lie to you. I was gonna end it with you telling you that this was the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Wait, because Twilight Zones are scary, but they have the camp. But they're meant to have it.
And it's always a twist. Always, especially the end,
twist.
the reveal of Earth.
Get out the fuck out of my head, bro. And I'm sitting here like waiting to talk so I can say that part, what you just said too, which is the crazy part.
Take us home,
yes,
brother. Take us home.
It definitely checks this movie out. In the next episode, we're going back to Argento, and it's going to be opera. So until next time, make sure to support Italian horror.